Welcome to the Darkstream. Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and Infogalactic. You know, one of the things I try to do is when I'm doing something that I'm new to, or that I'm less successful at than other people, I try to learn from the way that they go about doing it. And so one thing I noticed that Scott Adams does is that he doesn't just leap into the subject right away. He gives people time to actually, realize that the periscope is on, come around and join it, that sort of thing. And so, in that vein, I think I should probably do that. So I'm going to do what he did, and I will tell a joke. And in fact, I think I can tell a better joke than the one that he told. Now, this is not a joke that's original to me, but it's actually from a book that we just published today. We just published The Promethean by Owen Stanley, and it's a fantastic book. It's already the #1 bestseller in the satire category on Amazon. You should definitely, if you like satires, if you enjoyed The Missionaries, you should absolutely pick up this book. It's also on Kindle Unlimited, so if you're subscribed to Kindle Unlimited, then you can read it that way. Anyhow, the joke is a bear is talking to a rabbit, and the bear says, "Do you have problems with shit sticking to your fur?" And the rabbit looks at the bear and says, "No, not really." And so the bear picks up the rabbit and wipes his bum with the rabbit. So, anyhow, it's much funnier in the book because of the context in which the joke is being told. So, anyhow, it cracked me up, not just because I think the joke's kind of funny, but you have to. I'm not going to even try to explain the context because you can't possibly understand it until you read the book. So, but I highly, highly, highly recommend that you read The Promethean. It is not only brilliant, but it is brutally funny. Yeah, do you like my shirt? Space Bunny got it for me. She knows I'm a bit of an otter aficionado, and so I said, "Good day, sir." Yeah, a lot of people don't know, but that's my wallpaper, and it has been for a long, long time. So, anyhow, so let's get to the subject then. There's a few hundred folks here, so a couple things. Somebody posted on my blog, and they were talking about how we're losing. You know, Bannon's out of the White House. N.K. Jemisin won the second straight Hugo Award for Best Novel, and statues are being torn down, and the sun is being eaten by the great devil Donald Trump. Okay, I may have added that last part, but the reality is that we are in what in military terms is called asymmetric warfare, and the left has some advantages, and the right has some advantages. Everybody understands, everybody knows the left's advantages. The tech giants, the banks, the authorities in a actually relatively small area. It's it's interesting that people talk so much about the authorities, but if you think about it, more and more of the authorities are moving to the right. There are fewer and fewer democratic local governments. And so what that means is that we absolutely can win, but we all have to pay attention and be smart and think strategically rather than just tactically. All right. One of the things that I was thinking was that it's absolutely crazy to be going into their strongholds and expecting them to play fair. This rally that they're scheduling for Gainesville is probably going to be another tactical setback. Now, obviously, they're going to learn from Charlottesville, but the reality is, what are you doing? What are you doing there unless you are offering yourself up as some sort of sacrificial lamb? Now, if that's the plan, fine. But, people say, oh, you shouldn't criticize these things if you're not involved, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's the thing. Why would you ever, in today's day and age, why would you ever go out there without having drones and overwatch and communication and so forth? All right? It's just crazy. And especially when you know that there is infiltration, whether it is at the highest level, or whether it's like that guy who was carrying the brand new creased Nazi flag, who was spotted at an anti-Trump rally. All right? And so, the point is that all this street theater is totally irrelevant. All right? Mao did not engage in much street theater. All right? And, it's just not relevant. If you look at all of the successful revolutions and so forth, there's no point to it. But Mao did not have 50 million people when he started. Mao could use guns. Mao and his followers had fewer guns than both sides do. I mean, here's the reality: is that you either act or you don't. This. I mean, that's what I think is ridiculous about all this rally stuff and this posturing and so forth. What it's all intended, it's basically nothing more than guerrilla chest beating. It's not serious. It's all just posturing. And they're all hoping that someone else will do something. They're all hoping that someone else will solve something. But the reality is that, this is ultimately a situation that is going to be resolved when people start actually taking matters into their own hands. And people are not going to do that until they reach the point that their pain and their suffering is too great. All right? you know, the most useful actions in the meantime is simply to take care of your families, speak the truth, and move on with your lives while you are preparing for the time when things begin to fall apart. Okay? It doesn't matter if there's a statue moved from a commons to the to the museum or whatever. It doesn't matter. I mean, what matters is the kind of stuff that Bannon is doing. What matters is the kind of stuff that Trump is trying to do. All right? No, I mean, pro-Trump rallies are fine in the campaign. You know? But, you know, you don't see, I mean, street theater is irrelevant. That's what I'm trying to get across to you. All right? It's much more important, it's much more significant to better understand what's going on, what's happening. I mean, I would argue that it would actually be better for the kind of guys who want to go to rallies and stuff to go out and play paintball. Right? Then at least you'll understand some basic things like flanking and Overwatch and some of the basic tactical stuff. I mean, if you really want to do something useful, I'll tell you what to do. Go get a job at Google. Go get a job at one of these social media giants. Go get a job at an internet infrastructure company. All right? If you're not able to do that, then support the alternative stuff. All right? You know, the building up Gab, building up Infogalactic, building up the various things that are in the works, they are all coming. The way that you learn tactics, but here's the thing. What you have to understand, you work at Comcast, that's great, but the point is that you have to start thinking of yourself as an infiltrator. You're far more useful inside the belly of the beast than you will be outside. All right? The thing is that, I mean, think about this. Who struck the most savage blow against the left in the last 3 months? Was it an activist? Or was it just a young guy who happened to work at a tech giant? Yeah, it was James Damore. All right? Now think about it. What could 1,000 James Damores do? You know, one of the reasons that these companies are so powerful is because they they have access to people's secrets and all that sort of thing. But anyone who is in these companies has a tremendous amount of information about all the people that they work with. You don't use China. China is already infiltrating Hollywood. How will infiltrators know when to strike? Well, the infiltrators need to have contacts with the outside, obviously. I mean, where do you think I got all the stuff that was posted? If you recall, Google canceled their company-wide meeting because they didn't want me posting about what people were saying at that meeting. You know, and I would have had the stuff had they had that meeting. And I would not be the only one who had the stuff. I would have been one of a dozen people who had it. You know? But at the same time, you have to be aware of the fact that they're going to strike back. You know, we've already seen all these companies kicking these people, you know, booting these people off their services. That's going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to happen to a lot of people. It's not going to stop happening until the more sober, responsible heads realize that the SJWs are killing their business. Because it's not all about... Remember, these companies have to grow. They have a mandate to grow. Well, how do you grow when you're actively pruning your customer base? Twitter's already flat. You know, and also their behavior is really killing them in the international markets. Because what foreign government is going to trust any of these companies? They know they can't. It depends on the cloud. You know, I don't think it's wise to use the cloud in most circumstances. You know, I mean, there's a lot of reasons not to. You know, we had a problem at one of our sites, just because, you know, a standard update went bad. So, yeah, Merkel and Zuckerberg were sitting at a table, but, you know, China doesn't let them in. You know, that Zuckerberg went to China and asked if he could name his son after the Chinese premier. You know, just kowtowing as best a barbarian possibly could. And, you know, the premier just said no, he didn't want him named after him, and by the way, you're not going to be allowed to come into China either. So, anyhow, you know, what I recommend is to everyone on the right is up your game. And I refer to myself in that too. You know, I am attempting to up my game. You know, I am attempting to, you know, move from the medium that I am most comfortable, which is the written word, and move it into video, so that I can reach more people via the medium they prefer rather than the one I prefer. So, with what explain Voxday. Okay, you guys are all familiar with Stefan Molyneux's videos, right? And I presume Jordan Peterson's. Probably fewer people are familiar with him. So, what I am going to be doing, and part of why I've been doing these periscopes, is to teach myself to work in this medium. Is I'm going to be producing these 20-minute videos that are going to be more focused on specific subjects. So there will be some will be series, others will be single subject topics. So, for example, the debate that I had with Greg Johnson on National Socialism being of the left, we will probably turn that into a video relatively soon. You know, it's just going to be me talking, but it's going to be mixed in with some very good graphics and so forth. And the idea is that if you watch that video, dialectician, not dactician, you need to read SJW's Always Lie or Aristotle's Rhetoric. Dialectics, rhetoric versus dialectic. Do like Nicholas Taleb and read SJW's. That was actually a personal high point for me, to find out that Nicholas Taleb is reading SJW's Always Lie. So, yeah, not Dianetics, dialectics. And so the idea is that if you watch this video, then you're going to be able to make that argument conclusively yourself. You'll have all the information that you need to blow somebody out of the water on that particular topic. Or if it's just an educational thing, you will have a solid and accurate understanding of rhetoric, of dialectic. Maybe as we go on, we'll get more into the various logical fallacies, the specific logical fallacies. We may even get into the specific types of sophistry, like amphiboly and so forth. And so, I don't think an annotated rhetoric is likely anytime soon. This is all, well, Voxiversity is kicking off soon. It's going to be it's going to be just like Jordan Peterson's thing. It's going to be, we're going to launch it on Freestarter, which is going to be launching very soon. I mean, we're talking like, this is about maybe a week to 10 days off. We're going to be launching it. We're looking for people to sign up and support it with subscriptions like Jordan Peterson's. It is going to be crowdfunded. We are going to have podcast versions. I don't know what Thunderclap is. I don't know exactly how we're going, exactly which service we're going to use where. I plan to be more akin to Jordan Peterson than Stefan. So, I talked to the folks, I talked to my brainstormers. They're sort of my inner core advisors. And everybody said that they want the videos to be available to everyone. They don't want special videos just for them. What they want me to do is they want to fund me making them for everybody so they can go out all over. So, so we'll be figuring this out. I mean, what we're going to have a base, a core base, where the videos will go up first, and then we'll give permission for people to simply spread them around as much as they want, as much as they can. And so, so we'll see how it goes. And so, there's no, I don't think there'll be any need for copyright, because the whole idea, it'll already be funded through the crowdfunding. And so, no, the reason that I didn't want these on YouTube was, number one, I didn't want people getting kicked off of YouTube on my account. Number two, I didn't really like the quality of them. The whole quality is pretty low. And so, you may not realize this, but I used to be in a band, Psychosonic, and so I don't like low quality things. If you look at our books, if you've ever bought a Castalia House print edition, you can see that we like to do stuff that is high quality. And so we're planning for Facebook and YouTube and all those to try to get in our way. But we've already established with VidMe, we already went through it with VidMe. They were not too keen on me at first, but after thinking about it, they changed their mind and verified me. So we know that VidMe is going to be all right. And we're going to have a home base as well. And so, the idea is to do something, because remember, we're not trying to keep people from disseminating this stuff. We want to let people disseminate this stuff. I mean, the people who are signing up as backers have specifically said, we do not want you to limit this to us. We want you to spread it far and wide. And so, there's going to be different levels of rewards and that sort of thing, just like there are in all crowdfunding things. And most of those are going to be directed towards having the ability to suggest topics and to vote on what topics I address next. So, some of the topics I'm going to be doing are just going to be topics that I pick. Others are going to be the topics that those who are backing Voxdiversity believe should be the priority. And then we'll also do, now it's not going to be Twitter polls, it's going to be the people who are the backers. They're the ones supporting it. They're the ones who should make the call. And so, how many of you saw the Jack Posobiec trailer that we released to announce that we were publishing his book? Do you remember that? The 4D warfare? Okay. That's the guy, that's my partner who is working with that. And so if you go to VidMe, you can see it. If you go to my VidMe account, you can see it there. So that's the level of quality that these videos are going to be. Now, don't judge it too much by the trailer. The trailer's really, really cool. And then I talk, and I don't have the proper mic set up yet, and so my vocal quality is not what it should be. But that's just for the crowdfunding trailer. It'll be much better. And so, it has to be. It has to be exciting. It's not just going to be nothing but me talking like this. It's going to be me talking like this, but interspersed with graphics demonstrating and showing the stuff that I'm talking about. So, don't worry, we'll get the audio right when we actually do the production. But until we get to that point, until we start doing the real production, it's not going to be so much. The free starter is going to be just a recurring, it's going to be a Patreon style thing. And so, basically, I'm using Jordan Peterson as the model. He's the most successful out there like that. I don't know, initially we're going to start slow because I want to make sure we get it right. So, the first month we'll probably do 1 or 2 videos, and then as we produce more, as I get more comfortable speaking with the camera and laying out these things, I'm gonna, for example, I'm learning all the time. I'm learning that I work best if my computer over there has a PowerPoint up that just has notes on it. I can't have the text because then I start reading it. I need to have notes, but I don't like physical notes. And so, all these things, are going to be, all these things are going to sort themselves out over time. I'm not going to decide beforehand how it's going to be because I don't know how it's going to work. And so, anyhow, it'll sort itself out. I assume one-off donations are fine. I don't know yet how the system works. So, if there's plenty of ways to do it, but the main thing is that we're just going to we're going to take it slow. There is going to be an alternate Patreon in about a week called Free Starter, and so but the thing is that tell folks about it. Tell folks that you think are interested in this stuff. When you hear people saying, "Oh, we need X, we need this," those are the people that need to say, "Hey, we're working on it. We're doing it. So come help us make it happen." This, just so you understand, this is not something I want to do. I am most comfortable writing and publishing books. We published 3 books in the last 3 weeks, or 4 weeks. Every single one of them has been a #1 category bestseller. Every single one of them is getting phenomenal reviews and is doing really well. That's what I like to do. That's what I'm comfortable doing. But the problem is, we can only reach 10% of the people that way. This is a visual age. We live in the visual world. And so what Voxdiversity is going to be, what it's conceived of being, is basically visual Castalia. If you need a 1-sentence description of Voxdiversity, it's Castalia House in video format. So we're going to be covering the stuff that Van Crevel does. We're going to be covering the stuff that Lynn does. We're going to be covering all of these things. But we're going to be bringing those ideas to a much broader market. And I really, and I should mention that, just as long as I'm shilling, let me shill my free book. This monster is free today on Amazon. So if you haven't read A Throne of Bones yet, then it's free. Go pick it up, but it is the first in the series, yes. And I'll give you a hint. The second in the series is going to be made available free very, very soon as well, for a very short time. And so, and for those of you who have paid for it, understand the purpose is to reach those that are never going to read it otherwise. Okay? The kind of people who read books when they're given away for free are very different than the readers who buy stuff. You can see my Taleb books. I don't think I even have the plastic taken off these, because I already have them all. I've already read them all. But I wanted to have the set. That's what people who love books do. And so what we're doing now is, A Throne of Bones is through its main sales cycle. So now what we're doing is we're planting the seeds for people that don't know they're fans yet, but maybe will become fans. And so, and plus there's also a little pitch for the Dragon Award in there. So, maybe some of the folks who like the free stuff will consider voting voting for A Sea of Skulls for best fantasy novel this year. You know, if it wins, great. I wouldn't think so, given that Larry Correa's got a great thing out there. But you know, if you like a Game of Thrones at all, you will probably like this quite a bit. The finished Sea of, the extended edition of Sea of Skulls is coming out in December. So it's Kindle, yes, Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. So anyhow, but you know, people have been very kind. They usually say that it falls somewhere. They say it's better than George Martin stuff and Robert Jordan stuff. It's not as good as Tolkien stuff. I think that's probably a fair assessment. That's, you know, probably where I would put the stuff right now too. So it's not Tolkien level. It's not that good. You know, there's you have to be realistic about where you stand. You know, I mean, I'm reading Yukio Mishima and Hermann Hesse, so I don't get I don't get too. I'm not too inclined to believe my own BS. So anyhow, yeah, I was just telling you guys it's free on Kindle. So I'm getting better at selling. Is it confidence? No, I've always had the confidence. What it is that I realize that people like to buy things. You know, I always had a problem selling stuff because I felt like I was pushing stuff on people that didn't want it. But the reaction that we get from the stuff that we're making available is so strong and so powerful that I realized, wait a minute, I'm not bothering these people. They really want this. And so, you know, as long as we focus on making sure that it's provided at a fair price, that the quality is high, and so forth, you know, then I'm happy to do that. And so, you know, I have no problem whatsoever saying, go out and buy the Missionaries. Go out and buy the Promethean. It's fantastic. You know? And so, I have no problem saying, with what's going on, you need to go out and buy the 4th Generation Warfare Handbook. You should have that. You know, I personally think that anyone who is in a potentially militaristic situation should have it. So, was the alt-light right? No, I don't think the alt-light is right. They didn't see it coming. They just have some. Understanding of staying out of trouble. Reading fiction is beneficial because culture trumps politics. A lot of your opinions are formed through the fiction that you read or that you watch on TV. A lot of your opinions are formed without you realizing it. I think reading history is a really good way to do that. Anyhow, I'm starting to wind down here, so I really need to go. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks all of you who have said that you intend to support Voxdiversity. I really appreciate that. And you know, go ahead and pick up your free copy of A Throne of Bones, and if while you're at it, pick up a copy of the Promethean. Have a good evening.